have a serious question for you today. When your world gets burned to the ground, what do you do? Do you rise from the ashes like a warrior ready to take on the world? Or do you wallow in the ashes of self-pity? Hi, I'm Gina. Here at Hope and Cope, we talk about essential skills needed to have the best life we possibly can in spite of painful and sometimes even tragic events and situations. Usually, today's topic is a challenging one, I know. We're going to go through some things to help us. And at the end, I will share my blueprint for serenity that I think will be really helpful to you. Recently, I was listening to a talk by Jordan Peterson, and he said something to the effect of, life is always extremely hard, but not to make any mistake about it, we can always make a nightmare worse. And boy, did that really sink into me. And I thought, yes, indeed, life itself undiscriminately can be very, very hard. And then we can, on top of it, be our own worst enemy. We make wrong choice after wrong choice after wrong choice and just escalate every problem that we have. Most of the time, tragedy catches us quite by surprise. A house fire, the death of a loved one, a disease, the loss of a job, many things can be life tragedies. And we have to decide how we're going to address each and every day, sometimes even each and every moment of the day. Sometimes the grief is so severe and it really muddles our mind and it causes us confusion and it makes matters so much worse for us. But that is when we need more than ever to come to our senses, to ground ourselves in what we know is the truth, and do our best to make right choices in spite of these terrible situations. And sometimes we don't catch a break and we don't get to catch our breath, and it's just one thing after another splashing up on your life and overwhelming you and causing you to be disoriented. And I get it. I've been there. I know that kind of challenge, but I also know that I just kept this anchor in my head that said, decisions you make can make them worse. I kept this firm foundation in my life that said I had to make the right decisions, regardless of how I felt about them, regardless of whether it was what I wanted to do or if it was the easy thing to do, because I could, by the event of making wrong choices, I could make things so much worse for me and my loved ones. Let's talk about some examples. Let's say a tragedy comes into your life like a divorce, but you have a good stable job. If you do things to jeopardize your job, then you could be going through a divorce and be unemployed. Do you see the point that I'm trying to make? It's so important that we manage well the things that are going well. Does that make sense? Thankfully, many times in a huge tragedy, like a house fire or a disease, there's a lot of support. People come in, and a lot of them are professionals, and they come in and they know how to maneuver, or they know the best choices to make, and they tell you the next right steps to take. And that's very, very helpful. But there are times that there are no guides. There is no professional coming alongside you telling you what the best next step is. So a little course of action would be identify the problem correctly. If you need help identifying the problem correctly, hopefully you have a trusted loved one that can do that with you, or a professional that you can call upon to do that with you. Then identify a solution that you can manage and follow through. This is easier said than done, I know, but it's very important that we don't ignore problems or fan the flames and make them worse. I feel certain that I'm not alone in this situation, that other people too have been their own worst enemy at one time or another. And if that is true for you and you have any good advice you'd like to share in the comments, please feel welcome. I know I mentioned tragedies that come upon us, like the weather or disease, but there are other tragedies that are just as heartbreaking, and they're in our relationships between our loved ones, people that we don't really want to ever live without, but something has occurred, possibly an addiction, And now that relationship is very strained, and it has a whole new dynamic that it never had before. And we have so many choices to make about how we are going to move forward in this new situation. In so many situations, we may actually even know that we are making matters worse, and in the moment, we just don't care. It seems crazy, insane, but sometimes anger and pride and bitterness and resentment can cause us to stoop very low and to fall into the same ditch that someone else is in. And then we can't get out, and we can't get that relationship out. And someone has got to rise above the fray, rise above the disorder, rise above the low living, and decide that they're going to be the one to break the cycle. They're going to be the one to forgive. They're going to be the one to return kindness for ugliness, and to step aside and give that person their space and try to begin to recover a situation that seemed so hopeless to begin with. But if we barge in caring only for our pride, then the truth is you probably will walk away with your pride all intact. But I don't know if you will have won the relationship. And what is the goal? Is the goal to restore a broken relationship? Or is the goal to be the one that wins a battle? But what prize do you walk away with after you've won the battle? It may feel very counterintuitive to be meek and gentle if someone else is being rude and loud. But we have to ask ourselves, who is the person in the room that's in control of themselves? I don't want to fall victim to the same irrational behavior that I'm seeing out of this other person. I'm wanting to help them to draw it down. I'm wanting to help them to learn that they can say what they want to say in a respectable tone, and they don't have to yell and scream and throw things to get their way or get their point across. I want to be the example, and I want to be able to love them in spite of themselves and say, you know, when you are in a better place and when you're ready to talk in a reasonable tone, I'm here for you. Let me know, because I will always love you. There's nothing wrong with pulling away, backing out, going home, or whatever the course is, and not allowing someone to belittle or badger you. But let that door stay open. Use dignity on yourself and for that other person, and say, I know you're really having a hard time right now. I know that by your behavior, I can tell you're really struggling. And I want to hear what you have to say. I want to listen to you. I want us to work this problem out. I want to be open to what my part is. And as soon as you can get a peaceful tone and gather your thoughts so that you can speak them clearly, let's talk again. There's so many things we can do to isolate people when they are falling apart themselves, when they are going through an addiction or a divorce or the loss of a job, and we see them change and not for the better, and we want to be there and we want to help them. But sometimes there's just nothing we can do except love them and let them run their course. People do have to live their own life and discover things for themselves. I love the person that can learn from other people's mistakes. But that's not very many of us. Most of us have to make our own mistakes to really learn right from wrong. When an out of control person is saying out of control things, and we match that with other out of control verbiage, we're no better. When they say unforgivable things and we turn right around and say other unforgivable things, are we making matters worse? Is this our adult child or our brother or our sister or our parent or our dear friend that we have been friends with for 20 years? Why would we let those unhelpful emotions and thoughts control us so that we are making matters worse? Sometimes it's just a matter of not bringing up a difficult issue. If there is someone that has a lifestyle choice that is breaking your heart, but they still want to be in your life, maybe the best thing is to just not talk about it, or at least not talk about it now. Maybe there's a time in the future that it can be addressed. I'm not saying that we need to compromise our own morals or our own convictions, but sometimes we just go where we're not invited in someone's life. Does that make sense? That we are talking to someone about things that they don't want our input. And if we can behave in a proper manner and be wise in our words, in our tone, in our actions, our behavior, then we don't know how we could maybe invite that person to open up to us about this topic because we haven't already burned the bridge down by our own unhelpful behavior. So as I promised, I would mention my Blueprint for Serenity. I developed this years ago during my husband's addiction when I was learning how to keep my own peace of mind and present myself in the way that I wanted to my own children and grandchildren and to my family and my friends. And it's the acronym CALM, C-A-L-M. It stands for controlling our thoughts. A is accepting reality. L is look to God, and M is for mercy. So we are going to learn to have mercy on others as well as ourselves. I am working on a Bible study for the Blueprint for Serenity so we can dig a little deeper into those 4 little concepts: control your thoughts, accept reality, look to God, and have mercy. And hopefully that will be really helpful. And I'm working on that, and hopefully it will be out soon. Thank you for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. I have another video lined up that I hope you will find helpful. Before you go though, check out the description box where you'll find my contact information. I always put a Bible verse and a Christian song for you. I also want you to remember that I'm praying for you. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and share it with a friend. I try to put out new content every Sunday, so I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.